Hello, everyone. I hope you are all having a informative day. My name is Brad Carpel, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to keep moving forward in the face of unexpected events. Unofficially, that is, how to keep moving forward when life kicks the stuffing out of you. This is all based on experiences I had during mid 2018 and during most of 2020. Those who don't know my background, the short version is that I am on the autism spectrum. Although I might not fit the mold, I believe this to be true because of all the therapy I've had during my lifetime, plus my never satisfied drive towards self-improvement and my parents' assistance. I also have a twin brother who has a more severe form of ASD. The learning objectives for this workshop include: 1. Identifying mechanisms to help cope with rejection. 2. Determine ways to stay occupied and avoid depression during rough times. And 3. How to request accommodations in the working environment. In this presentation, I will be discussing job loss, dealing with rejection, motivation, and goal setting, work-related accommodations, depression brought on by the pandemic, and my own personal coping strategies. Hindsight is definitely 2020. I know I've said this in the past, but it is the truth. We as human beings need to use our own past experiences, including failures, to avoid potential problems in the future. That's how we all learn. We learn more from our failures than our successes. An example of this is that it took me getting laid off to understand that I really do need to push myself to do things that make me uncomfortable. At the end of May in 2018 and during 2020, this is how I felt. There were really uncertain times ahead. Before I begin, I'm going to try my best to be neutral about this topic. In March of 2018, after taking a few days off to a visit from my uncle, I began to notice that something was different at work. I saw that my workload was being slowly reduced and was being given to my own coworkers. In addition, my supervisor seemed to be more distant in her interactions with me. When I began working at this job, I had a professional but friendly relationship with my former supervisor. I noticed that she was less open with me, and I felt increasingly alienated from my coworkers. My gut was telling me that something was not right. I had a stomachache due to anxiety during the last 3 weeks at the job. I did not know how to voice these concerns to my supervisor or to my coworkers, so I kept silent. And one day at work, I was let go. Even though my gut had been telling me that something was not quite right for the past few months, I was absolutely in shock. For me, it seemed to come out of nowhere. I was working at this facility for almost 4 years with no apparent issues. All my plans went up in smoke with the loss of this job. In fact, it happened 2 days before my appointment with a realtor. Yes, I was planning on taking the plunge and try living on my own, but that went awry. After the shock, I dragged myself home and fell into sadness and depression. The summer of 2018 was the worst summer in my recent memory. I was dealing with anger, sadness, melancholy, emotional upheaval, and motivational issues. Emotional upheaval can really describe my feelings during this period in my life. Motivating myself was a constant challenge, but I was able to apply for jobs and landed an interview that went really well. Eventually, I was offered and accepted that position. However, in the midst of all this, throughout the end of July and into August, I was communicating with a woman I met online. We finally met face to face in August. Despite not having a job, living at home, and disclosing my autism, which I usually don't do over online, she still seemed interested in me. Our first date was great. We went to the beach for most of the day, went to dinner, and then had coffee. We planned to meet up the following Saturday for a second date. About 3 days prior to the date, I received a phone call from my prospective employer telling me that they had to rescind the job offer. I was told that my urine drug screen was inconclusive, and because of that, the examiners had to do a more sensitive exam, which tested positive for THC in spite of using legal hemp oil. Needless to say, I felt defeated once again. The second date also went well. She seemed to not be fazed by my story and empathized with my situation. However, following Monday, I received a text breaking off our budding relationship. Another blow to my state of mind. How did I get through this mess? Here are some strategies that I used. Firstly, don't shut anyone out. I spoke regularly with my friends and family, kept an active a social life as possible while conserving finances. Hung out with friends, take free or cheap classes, just don't be alone. Exercise is a good outlet for your stress, anger, and anxiety about your uncertain future. If you have a therapist, I suggest you keep in contact and meet routinely for talk therapy. This will help to unload the burden you put on yourself. Journal your thoughts. Writing can be a great tool to focus your thoughts and bring them to the forefront of your mind so you can confront them head on. Setting goals for yourself is an important survival tool. One thing I've learned about goals is that there is more to a goal than achieving it. Some of the goals I set for myself during this period I actually didn't achieve, and that was alright because they helped me in other ways. Focusing on the goals helped to center myself, so I had something to focus on and not dwell on the constant worry about finding a job, my evaporating bank account, and an uncertain future. Let's look at how goals can be set. To make sure your goals are clear and within reach, each one should be specific, simple, sensible, and significant, written out clearly and concisely, measurable, so you can track your progress. Attainable. You want a goal to be challenging yet achievable, relevant, realistic, and reasonable, and relevant to your overall life plans. Timely. Time based, time sensitive, or time limited. Here's an example of a short term goal that I set for myself. My goal was to establish a YouTube channel focusing on living with ASD based on my own life experiences. I planned for weekly uploads, for which I spent weeks planning and writing scripts for these videos. This helped to keep me occupied and stable. I wrote 8 or 9 scripts but never had the opportunity to record them because I reached my long-term goal before I completed my short-term goal. Of course, my long-term goal was to find a full-time position in my profession, health information technology. For those of you who don't know, that is medical records. I have an AS degree in health information technology from FSW and have the registered health information technologist credential. Here's a quote that I like. The trouble with not having a goal is that you could spend your life running up and down the field and never score. This is by Bill Copeland. It took about 4 months of searching, and in the middle of September of 2018, I was hired by Veteran Affairs and began working on October 15th of 2018. I am a release of information technologist at the VA outpatient clinic. Since no one will want a repeat of what I went through, here are some strategies. Speak up. Be proactive in your communication to avoid issues further down the line. If you are not able to speak up, find a champion to assist you with your voice. Write down what is going on, even if there is nothing wrong. It doesn't hurt to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Seek accommodations. If needed, workplace accommodations are available to enable employees to do his or her job despite having a disability. Here's are some examples of official and what I call unofficial accommodations. Environmental modifications, responsibility adjustments are official, while unofficial include scripts for telephone conversations and role playing customer encounters to get used to being in talking to the public. Regardless of having a job and everything seemingly going well in your life, stuff just happens. Don't get thrown overboard. For example, I did plan on getting my own place in February of 2019. However, my financial situation did not allow me to go through with that. And in 2020, the pandemic hit. The pandemic created massive amounts of paralyzing anxiety and fluctuating depression. The inability to be with my friends was extremely agitating. I had already experienced isolation for most of my late teens and early 20s due to a lack of friends. Now I had friends, but could not see them in person. With my department now on shifts between working from home and on site, and no patient interaction, I felt even more isolated. This was a jarring experience. Luckily, I was able to find ways to cope and get through the crisis. How did I get through this mess? Here are some strategies that I used. First, again, exercising regularly is essential. I walked around our neighborhood, did online exercise classes, online yoga, and meditation. I met regularly via telehealth with my psychologist and found that I could keep socially active via phone calls, Zoom, Google Hangouts, and Facebook Messenger. I spoke to friends regularly and met my friend groups on Zoom and Facebook Messenger weekly. My Autism Connections, which is a non-profit for adults with autism, began virtual programming by the end of April. We were then meeting every Friday to do online activities and to discuss how we were coping mentally. With all these things, Without all these things, life would have been unbearable. Seeing my friends regularly lifted my mood substantially. Now I leave you with this quote. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It is a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That is how winning and succeeding is done. Thank you all for coming to my lecture. I hope you have all learned something, and if you have any questions or comments, you can reach me at my email address, which is currently on the screen at bradcarpel@comcast.net. Thank you, and have a great day.